because we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Hello, folks. How are you? Hope you're doing all right for, what is it, a Wednesday? Hump Day, is it? I'm pretty sure it is. I'm losing track of the days with these public holidays in some places and not in others. Forget about the hours and the differences in where we are and who we are and what time of the world we happen to live in. Ah, God. It is proving just, well, you'd think. It's been something I've been dealing with all my working life, so to speak, but you'd think there'd be an easy way around it. But daylight savings presents its own set of unique challenges every year, it seems, as we progress forward. And I understand some of the arguments from people, particularly along the coast, the East Coast, as to why they maybe wouldn't necessarily enjoy daylight savings as much as those people who live a lot further inland. But even still, oh, gee. Yeah. Anyway, I guess I could move to Victoria if I really wanted daylight savings. I'd need a bit of money for that. I'd probably have to go and sell some silver. Oh, have you been looking at the price of silver and gold? Forget silver for a minute. Gold has bashed its way through $6,000, $6,130.66. I beg your pardon, $6,150.66 right now. And silver is at $74.23 an ounce. Now, somebody told me the other day to give the kilo prices, which you can do very easily at ainslebullion.com.au. I'll show you. In fact, I'll pop this up onto the screen and make it very easy. Up in the top left-hand corner, underneath the Ainsley Bullion sign, you'll see two little tabs. You flick one on the Oz, and it'll flick between the price per ounce or the price per kilo, and that will show in Australian dollars. You can change it to US dollars if you so desire. And that means that the silver spot price at the moment in ounces in US dollars is $48.74. The figure to watch out for is the $50 mark in US dollars. When it busts through $50, that is unknown territory. It has never been there before. A bit like gold has not been through 6,000 or 4,000 US dollars an ounce. And right now it's at 4,038 US, or let's put it back to Australian, $6,150.66. If you are playing in the market game, I'm sure you've got a little bit of gold, you've got a little bit of silver. And as I was looking at a friend of mine's Facebook today, she posted that she's so glad she got into gold and silver back when she did. The first silver that she bought was at $32 an ounce. And the first gold that she bought, which I think was with me through Ainsley Bullion, it was just under $2,500 an ounce. And now it's worth $6,150.66. And that is well under 12 months that she's owned it. Well under. So, folks, if you do take that advice, get involved in a bit of gold and a bit of silver through ainslebullion.com.au. Don't forget the other precious metals, including palladium I was hearing about the other day. I'm not sure that Ainsley deal in palladium, but they certainly deal in platinum. And that's another good precious metal to get involved with. Go into any of their offices in Brisbane, in Melbourne, or on the Gold Coast, their new office there in Mermaid Beach, and experience what it's like. If you haven't got a little bit of gold or silver till now, then experience just the thrill of going in and checking some of it out. And for those people who bought it in kilos, I have to say, I know 1 kilo in particular that cost $979. So that one has gone up, well, pretty considerably. I know of someone who paid, I think it was $1,100 a kilo, and bought 3 kilos of it at $1,100 a kilo. So that's up $1,200 now, over $1,200. Once again, in less than 12 months. No bank is going to give you that kind of return on your plastic invested with them, your promissory notes. Just got to tell you, folks, it's real. The value that you get when you invest in gold and silver is absolutely real. I hadn't planned on flogging it quite so much. I can't stop looking at the screen up there. That's what I'm peering at as these things go over. And the Ainsley Saver is a great way to get into it, because if you say, oh, look, and I'm like this, I look at that price of gold and I say, oh, look, at $6,000. I'm never going to get an ounce of that. The fact of the matter is, if I was to put together, the $2 and $1 coins that I've got and the bit of change that I gather every month as I go through, I would every month probably be able to put into an Ainsley Saver account $50 to $100. Now, that doesn't buy too much gold or a great deal of silver for that matter. But the fact of the matter is, over 1 year, over 2 years, over 3 or 4 years, those little bits add up. And eventually, through fractional buying, which is what the Ainsley Saver account lets you do, you build that little bit of a gold or silver nest egg. And you can swap it between the two if that's what you want to do while you're buying it. So worthwhile checking out, ainslebullion.com.au. Sorry, didn't mean for it to be such a big plug. Got a lot we want to talk about tonight. This idiot sort of kicks us off as normal. Albo, he's handing out almost $10 million to an Israeli arms manufacturer. Why? Well, it's... we make pretty good arms here, but apparently not good enough. Or could it have something to do with the fact that only a week or so ago he was in New York City in front of the UN telling the world that Palestine is going to be recognized by Australia, and upsetting Donald Trump pretty significantly by doing that, and Bibi Netanyahu. He had to do a little bit of placating of the Israelis, and this is only step one of the placating process. Trust me, there'll be a lot more money that he's going to be sending their way. He's also doing a lot of placating to a number of nations that are being targeted for immigration purposes to Australia, to bring people to Australia. Sadly, New Zealand doesn't appear to be one of them. At the moment, there are more New Zealanders leaving New Zealand than there are older New Zealanders going back to New Zealand, or new immigrants going into New Zealand. They're having a net loss. It's not good. Their country is disappearing right up the proverbial shit chute. And the Kiwis are seeing it, and they're disappearing. They are leaving, and they're not all coming to Australia, you might be surprised to learn. So that's another issue that we are going to confront, because at some point, the New Zealand economy, which is in much worse shape than the Australian economy is at the moment, much worse, and that's saying something. The Australian economy is shit, but New Zealand's is working overtime at the moment too. And their immigration's also doing a pretty heavy job. I think in the last financial year, they brought in just under 65,000 new Kiwis, so to speak, or new immigrants into New Zealand. That's down, I think, from previous years. I had 115,000 or more the year before that. So there are even less immigrants wanting to come to New Zealand. Australia isn't marketing to Kiwis to come and immigrate to Australia and become Australian. No, we're going a little further afield than that. And we are doing it very, very, very successfully, using billions of our Australian dollars to do so. Now, what are they doing? Well, interestingly enough, something we've been saying is going to happen, or they have been trying to have happen now and prepping for it since the Gillard years. Or was it Gillard? I forget, who cares? At any rate, the bastards who ruled the nations and, as it turns out, the seas between here and Indonesia at the time, importing 50,000 illegals to help bolster the Labor vote. And that's exactly what they were doing. Now, those folks who came here during that time have been eligible to vote now in Australia for a number of years. How long has Labor been sitting top of the pops in various different states? It'd be a number of years now, wouldn't it? Sorry. Mind drift. At any rate, what we are now seeing with the immigration numbers that have already happened into Australia since, let's say since the end of the spicy cough, a very large proportion of those people who came in 2022 to 2023 will be eligible to vote in the next general election. If they've taken up the offer of citizenship, they will be able to. Now, citizenship has now been offered after a year of being here. Can I just say, a year is now being offered to people who came in 23/24 financial year. And those people, should they take that up, will also be eligible to vote in the forthcoming general election. What are the Labor Party doing? Well, you would say that the Labor Party are rigging it for themselves, but sadly, that doesn't appear to be the case, because the Liberal Party promise more Indian candidates as the party needs to reflect a more modern Australia. And we all know that both parties have sent representatives to the subcontinent and other countries to represent Australia and Australian government services as a way of coming into the country and being part of Australia. And God knows we welcome people who want to be part of Australia. That's in great part what the March for Australia is all about. But then you get these screamers coming out like this weird bitch. The growing threat of right-wing extremism is something that cannot be ignored in Australia. The words right-wing extremism, they're going to ramp up those words. They're going to use very incendiary language as we get further down this track that we're progressing at the moment. But thankfully, a lot of that incendiary language is not happening around, as far as I can tell, the next March for Australia, which is coming up on the 19th of October. Now, I can't recommend this to you enough, folks. I really believe that the March for Australia, given its first iteration, attracted more people than any other march this year for Australia, for any other reason. And I think in great part that was because it was pretty organically done originally. There was one young lady who sort of got targeted, I'd like to say, and that's how I feel about it. I'm not sure if that's how she feels about it, but I felt she was targeted when she inherited the March for Australia after a young bloke in Adelaide who came up with the idea sort of didn't want to really be involved in the organisation of it. She offered to help organise Sydney and then sort of got painted with a brush of being a national organiser for it, which I don't think really was the case. We spoke to her back prior to the first March for Australia, and now we're going to talk to her again before the second March for Australia. Bec, how are you? Bec Freedom, lovely to have you back here on the Voice of Freedom. Let me pop that thing out of the way and put us back into a place where we can both be seen. Great to have you. You're looking fit, well and excited. The baby having a sleep?
Yes, he's snoozing away right now. But no, thanks for having me back on. I appreciate it.
No, look, I can't thank you enough for what you do. And I don't think you get thanked enough, to be honest, because there is a lot of misinformation, a lot of, I hesitate to call them lies, but I don't know what else to call them, sadly. That's probably the worst thing. So I'm going to call them lies that have been spread about you, your partner, your affiliations. Apparently, you're the first female ever to be led into a Nazi network. So congratulations on that.
Thanks.
They're
pretty special.
It's nice to see that the Nazi movement would change their rules just for you. You must be. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say stuff like that because people are going to take this out of context and say, "Oh, she's a Nazi." So we're talking about the National Socialist Network and their feelings on mass immigration. Now, I've seen a lot of what they've said prior to the last March for Australia. I saw what Thomas said at his speeches in Melbourne, and I saw how he acted the following day, which I think was pretty inspiring, just between you, me, and the gatepost, when he called out the Victorian Premier in the park, and then they promptly arrested him after his court date later on that afternoon for a whole range of bullshit. I think he's still inside, and they've moved him to Barwon. So, yeah, they like to make life difficult. However, before we go any further, I know that this March for Australia has been smeared again with, you're going to have an open mic, you're going to let anybody up and speak, and they're all going to be bloody crazy, and you're going to let the white supremacists have a go, and all the little nagging. But I want to point out to folks that I've received a press release from White Australia. Now, I'll put it up there so that you guys can see it, but I'm going to read it from up here for you. White Australia press release, March for Australia in October. The National Socialist Network will not be attending the upcoming March of Australia in October. I'll say that again. The National Socialist Network will not be attending the upcoming March for Australia in October. We are not attending the planned march because we believe, 1, it's too soon after the previous march, and 2, it won't surpass the success of the previous march, and 3, this demonstration is not doing anything that the previous one didn't already do, and 4, unless there is a new and compelling reason to demonstrate, it's more important to build and organise our movement. Australia Day is the next time the National Socialist Network will be working with March for Australia. We have many of our own events planned for October, some of which are political seminars. And that's where, hang on, I've got to just scroll my page out a bit. I couldn't see it. We have many of events planned for October, some of which are political seminars being held in every state capital. Get involved as a member or supporter of White Australia if you want to attend these events. That's from the acting leader of White Australia, Jacob Hersant. Now, I don't think that could be any clearer, Bec. NSN are not going to be involved, by the sound of it, in any way, shape or form in the March for Australia coming up on the 19th of October. That must give you some measure. I think that is a really, really wonderful thing of them to recognise. The reasons that they've given, I think, are very genuine and good reasons for not bothering to turn up. But I would also say, just from my perspective, thank you, because it takes that element out of any excuse for people not to attend coming up October 19, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. Look, I'll be honest, when I first read that, I was like, wow, bugger you.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no, there is 100% reason to march. There is 100% reason to rally the troops and get out there. But I mean, look, if that's how they feel for their organisation, like, fine. Like, you guys do you, we'll do us, and we'll see how it goes. And that's what I've said to people, like, since seeing that, is, well, you all said that they ruined it. So they've now announced they're not going to be there. So get out there, hit the streets, and we'll see how it is without them. Like, if it feels like almost, I mean, look, if you're going to sit there and bag crap out of it because they were there, wouldn't you want to see how it goes without them there? So I feel like it's an awesome, perfect opportunity for everyone to come out that didn't like them and didn't want to go because of what the media said, and see how it goes.
If people held back last time, didn't go because they were worried that they might get branded or seen to be supporting NSN, that excuse is now gone. There is no reason for you not to turn up. Why are people so afraid of open mics, though, Bec?
I have no idea, to be honest. Look, so the initial reaction after that was bad, right? Like, I got a couple of handfuls of people complaining about it. But since then, so since we've announced that there's going to be another march for Australia, we've had people reaching out actually saying, are all the other states going to get on board? Now, they're not all the other states getting involved because they're just not comfortable with that, and that's each to their own. But yeah, people have actually been saying, oh, like, when will it be? Like, how long will it go for? Will I get a chance to speak? So I think that, yeah, people were scared of it initially, but I think just because of the way the media painted it, I guess. And that's
I would agree.
which is quite sad,
would
but
agree. Sorry, I had to laugh at this comment from J1, and there are a few comments that are making me giggle a bit. So what these guys are genuinely asking, particularly with this one, will there be a sausage sizzle, water, and toilets? Is the Freedom Union backing you this time round? John Wilson is very good at organising sausage sizzles, water, and toilets, as we saw at the rally he tried to get involved with in Sydney. Has the Freedom Union come forward with that offer?
No, I don't expect to hear from them either. But
so-
yeah, for the record, I wouldn't work with him anyway.
So you've been doing this for as long as I have, basically, in this sort of genre, if you like. We've met a lot of people, a lot of friends we've made, a lot of acquaintances. You and I have never met. We've only spoken on the phone and done this. What has been? Can you give me both what for you is a great experience out of all this for you, and what has been a bad or the worst experience for you?
All right. I might get emotional. The best experience has been seeing Australians activate, seeing people activate prior to the event, showing up on the day, and the energy was amazing in the crowd. But then afterwards, look, there's been obviously a few handfuls of people that are like, nah, I can't do it anymore. Like, that's disgusting. You deceived us, blah, 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 blah. But also seeing all the people that were like, why are they saying that? Why are the media lying? I had fun. I had a great day. I felt safe. It was good. So seeing people realize, like people that had never been to an event like this before, no protests ever, seeing them come to the realization that the media lies has been a beautiful experience. It really has. It's made, I don't know. It's just been beautiful. Like, it's so good to see newcomers to being awake or being nationalists and being like, okay, so we can't trust the media, which is great because I mean, we've known that for years, but not everyone has known that for years.
Yeah.
And the worst experience is probably seeing people that I have backed for 5 years straight. I have always supported them, even the ones that I didn't like. I still shared all their events. I promoted their events because it was about the Australian people, not the people hosting the event. Seeing people that I once classed as family turning on me at the drop of a pin. It was hard. And it made me realize that just because you think you're close to somebody or that you were once friends with somebody, that doesn't mean they're always going to back you. As soon as the crowd goes one way, they'll jump on and follow. It's been eye-opening. Like I said, I used to promote events. Everybody that's followed me for ages has always had a go at me for promoting events of people that we don't like. For example, I'm going to say the name. I'm sorry, Carl. Tricky, for example. Every event he has ever done, I don't like the guy, but I always shared his flyers because it was about the cause and the reason and the people of Australia. So seeing all those people go so relentlessly attacking me the way that they did, it was eye-opening, very eye-opening.
I couldn't agree more with you. I'm just looking at Fred's thing here. Pretty clear from that statement that the NSN are still involved and that they're just standing back and standing by, which shouldn't be a shock. If you don't like that, there's the door. Well, I would have thought from that statement it's exceptionally clear that standing back is exactly what they're doing. They've got some tacit agreement with you by the sound of it to go out and do something on Australia Day, and God, shouldn't we all? So
hold on though. Let me just clear that up though. Just with what you said then about the Australia Day thing, I actually have no idea what that part is about. because I haven't
well,
even
there you go.
started planning Australia Day yet. So I'm too busy planning October 19th. I can't be organising Australia Day as well. So, yeah. I mean, will
Yeah.
they show up? Probably. I mean, if they want, they can, because once again, everyone assumes that I should have learnt from my mistakes. I don't think I made a mistake in the way that other people think that I did, because I believe in freedom of speech and freedom of political opinion. So just because
Yeah.
they're not going
And
to this one doesn't mean that they're banned from any future ones.
Look, and essentially, I've been asked, not asked, I've been sent emails of different sorts, kind ones, not so kind ones, and outright outrageously attacking ones for having the audacity to talk about you and talk about this march coming up on October the 19th for Australia. And why would I support Bec Freedom? She's said and done such horrible things. Well, I haven't seen too much you've said or done that's terribly horrible. I've certainly seen nothing you haven't taken responsibility for. And that, to me, says a lot more about you and the kind of person you are than it does to those people who have said and done a great many things of which they refuse to take any responsibility in our organisation or our loose conglomeration of I don't know what to call us. I don't want to call us freedom fighters or alt media. Maybe that's maybe the best way to look at it. But you are leading by example, as far as I can tell. And until I find that you've told me a lie, or you've, faked this whole association, and you're really the Queen Nazi, then I'm going to support you and continue supporting you, if only for the fact that free speech is free speech. It doesn't demand people listen to the speech. It just, I would support anyone's right to say whatever they want to say. I may not want to stand around and hear it. I may want to, push back against what you say. But in a civilized society, there are mechanisms to do so. And shouting them from the trees or from the pub or from, a car as you drive past is not brave. And certainly shouting them from a keyboard buried in the interweb somewhere is about the most cowardly aspect you can take to this. So I hope that now the NSN has made it pretty clear, despite what old mate seems to think. I think they've made it exceptionally clear they're not going to be involved with October 19. There's not going to be any of them attending. Then well and good. So let's move on to what is going to happen on October 19. Have you last time round, I think John Ruddock turned up to speak, the Libertarian. Is that what he is?
Yeah. So he's the MLC Libertarian for New South Wales, I believe. I hope I'm getting that title right, but if I'm not, then sorry, John. But yeah, we had him speak at August 31st. We had a few other smaller name politicians like Steve Christou. I think we had a One Nation guy, Stuart Bonds, I think his name is. And we had we had Dr. Stephen McInerney, a few others as well, which they all delivered great speeches, amazing speeches.
So this time round, what are you expecting? Have you had people saying, hey, listen, I'm going to be there, I'm going to have a go this time, now that they know it's an open mic? Or are you just going to put a couple of big guys at the back of the stage and say the line starts here?
Pretty much, no. So we'll do the designated speakers again. Sorry, I just want to correct that comment. Ruddock is controlled by the AGA. No, he's not. Catch up and you'll, yeah. Anyways, sorry, I just wanted to defend Ruddock then, because he's copped a lot of crap because he has done some things in the past. And yeah, no, he's not controlled, not in my opinion. So yeah, we'll have a few designated speakers, still working out the exacts for that. And then we will be doing an open mic, 100%. And I'm sorry for anybody that doesn't like that, but free speech is for everyone. And yeah, we'll do maybe, I think I was speaking to Jesse, we'll do somewhere between 5 and 10, but we're going to cut it right down to 2-minute speeches. So blurt out what you want to say, and then hop down, because last time we had to cut it off because the police were saying it was going too long. And we still had about 10 people that we had to turn away. So 2-minute speeches, straight up, straight down.
One of those side of stage hooks to, hook them off the stage at 2 minutes when the bell rings. A big timer clock on the stage to count down. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I've noticed that a few of the... Sorry,
I do think it is important, though, what people don't... I know people don't like the open mic, but I think it's important because it's one thing to hear politicians get up and speak, or it's one thing to hear people who are educators speak on Australian culture and everything. But it's another thing to hear from your average everyday Aussie who has 5 kids and is struggling to feed them, about to lose their house, and are terrified of going into the rental market. It's another thing to hear from the person that got attacked down the street, held by a machete or whatever. So I think that the everyday Australian voices are so important to hear, so that we actually understand why we're saying that we want to stop mass immigration.
Yeah, 100%. I think I've just realised why we've attracted a few more of the brain dead trolls that like to populate tonight than normally we would. And that's because for the first time, folks, tonight we are sending the show out on X. So that's probably attracted a whole world of morons, which I will no doubt have a ball with at some stage when I begin to give a fuck. But I can't see that's going to be any time in the near future. But I'm sure our wonderful admins will look after the likes of Craig and Luke, is it? Who are finding the conversation tonight just a little too taxing for the molecules that they are using as a brain at the moment. So I'm sorry, ladies, if that's hurting your feelings, but there are plenty of other places you trolls can go and hide out. Please leave. Feel free, because nobody here cares what you think, sadly. You gave up being able to think a long time ago. But that's a whole other story, not one we're going to protest about. We tried doing that during COVID, and look where that got you. Oh, well. Sorry, Bec, I'm getting a little bit off topic tonight. I'm not used to having to deal with that amount of trolls in the chat. I've noticed that your posts and the Marches posts in general, I don't know if you're making these or not, but like that poster that I put up earlier for this March, advertising October 19, they've been picked up by some pretty significant people, including a couple of senators, Senator Nampajira Price, and I think Senator Pauline Hanson, and probably by reference Senator Roberts as well, are pushing this event. Have they reached out to be able to speak, particularly at any of the events you know of?
Yeah, I won't confirm if they're speaking anywhere or not, but I will say I've spoken to Malcolm Roberts. He's back in the event. I've been told that Pauline is backing it as well. I mean, we've all seen that as well on the news. I'm not sure if anyone's spoken to Price or not, but I personally haven't. But yeah, a lot of them are supportive of the event, so it's good to see.
Yeah, well, there is a well, actually, I'm going to misspeak here. Let me put this up. I was going to say, is there a Darwin event? Doesn't appear to be at this stage. Senator Price is senator out of the Northern Territory. I'm pretty sure she lives in Alice Springs. But who knows? She might be able to appear at any of these other events if there isn't one put on in Darwin by the time the event date comes around. So that sort of level of support, let's call it mainstream political support, if you will, that's got to be heartening this time round. Do you think that Ben Fordham might call you up and offer you another interview spot this time round?
Look, I don't think he will. However, because we are so censored this time around, I have been sending out messages to all the media that was hounding me throughout the other one. I haven't sent him a message yet because I kind of don't want to. It's like a last resort. But I will be sending his assistant a message and just saying, well, do you want to give us another shot? Seems that you tried to attack it last time. How about you get me on and we do a fair argument or discussional promo? So I will be sending a message out. I'll be
It's a
much
great
more prepared.
opportunity for Ben to say, all right, well, we've now got the benefit of hindsight. We can look at what was predicted to happen on the 31st versus what actually did happen on the 31st, right around Australia, and the numbers that came out. And now how the sentiment has changed somewhat. And people are starting to wake up to the fact that successive governments, I'm not going to just blame the Labor criminals here, because the Liberal/National criminals are also involved in this sort of ongoing, continued decimation of the voting populace of Australia. They are engineering the vote. They are changing the demographic of Australia by bringing in so many people over such a short period of time. That is what one of the things that mass immigration does. And that's one of the things, I guess, speakers at these events around Australia, not just the one that you're going to be hosting in Sydney, but these are the kinds of things that your speakers will be talking about, I hope.
Yes, definitely. So I'm hoping in Sydney we make a bit of a focus on deporting immigrant criminals, because yes, we do have laws to deport them. However, because of light sentencing and all of that, they end up staying and reoffending. But yeah, there will be discussions right around Australia about immigrant criminals, the housing, and but hopefully some politicians will be offering some solutions. I know John Ruddick's solution is the immigration policy overhaul and 5-year pause. I'm hoping that some politicians at other states will be also speaking on that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, we'll be hopefully going right into stuff, but also there will be, again, a focus on the bottom subject, which is also protect our heritage, our culture, and our way of life, which ties in with stopping mass immigration as well.
I'm not going to put this on your shoulders, but do you feel that with the politicians a circling, that the movement represented by March for Australia has political legs in the future? Is this something that could turn into, I hesitate to say a party for all the reasons that common law people will hate me for, but a party for the people, of the people, by the people? Do you think that's possible?
I mean, look, it's been suggested a lot. You'd be surprised at how many messages we've had saying you guys need to form a party. It's like, that's a bit too. How about we just advocate for the people instead, and we'll just help you guys have a voice, and we'll leave the political stuff to the more political people-minded people. I'd be thrown out of Parliament in 5 minutes if I was in there. Let's be real. I'd call someone the C word and it'd be done.
I think I would have problems in there too, because unfortunately our Parliament has become more about having to show respect and restraint in everything that you say and do in that place, rather than getting the point across. Unfortunately, some of the things that I would expect and would want changed are, if there are speeches being given in either the Senate or the House, everybody turns up. Everybody. You don't just stay in the members' dining room swilling $1,000 bottles of wine paid for by the public. Thank you very much. You turn up and listen to those speeches and play a role, an active role, not just what the whip says. But then again, now we're getting into party politics and how that works. And obviously, why we get into trouble talking about parties. But there is obviously an appetite for a new form of political movement in this country, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, I think it's because it's been so long since we've seen anyone in Parliament be 100% Australia first and Australia first only. And I think that the fact that we haven't wavered on our principles and our core beliefs, I think that's shown people like what it really feels like to have people standing up for Australia and only Australia. And I think that's given them that thirst for that, because they haven't seen something like that in so long. And it's such an important thing. Like, you need, if you're in a country, you should be putting that country first. And I think people like that, and people want to see more of that.
I would agree. 100%. Australian survival instructors say Bec sure does attract some raving nut jobs. They despise how popular and efficient she is. Suck it up, losers. She's here to stay. Good on you, girl. You're getting a bit of support from left and right. That's the way it should be. It's not about, for many people, I think you and I have both discovered, well, actually, no, let me stick to the political side for a minute. When you and I both got attracted into this movement, let's call it, I hate that word, there was a bloke who was offering what we thought was a political solution at the time, something that we could all rally against. He gave some magnificent, rousing public speeches saying all the things that we wanted to hear in just at the time we wanted to hear it. And we clearly thought he was going to storm the halls of Parliament and take control of the nation by the scruff of the neck, as any good former SAS Lieutenant General would. But the Bozies have disappeared. A1 has all but disappeared from the political landscape. How would a new, or what would a new political movement look like? Because we thought Bozie, I've got to be honest, his speeches are what hooked me up into this to begin with. He's saying all the right things at all the right times. He just hasn't said anything different. And the times have changed, and what's right is now maybe not so right. But, is he the kind of bloke we need to lead this country, do you think?
No. Don't do this to me, Carl. Come on. I've got enough people angry at me. But no, I'm sorry. Right. I don't think so.
Well, I'm with you, because you can't be a leader if you can't communicate. And unfortunately, Rick hasn't done any kind of interview, as far as I'm aware, with anybody in Australia from the alt media or anything else, unless they are, just, I don't know, somebody I'm not aware of. He does a lot. Well, I don't even know if he does a lot anymore overseas, but he hasn't been able to communicate to the Australian audience in some time, despite having the opportunity to do so through many different areas. He chooses not to. So you can't lead if you can't communicate. And that to me is just one of many things.
Well, it comes down to, again, being Australia first. Now, I'm not saying that Rick's main interest is not Australia. I'm not saying that. But if you're not getting on Australian podcasts and choosing just to go do American podcasts, you know what I mean? Like, it's a
choice, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a choice. So anyway, there you go. Luke seemed to have halfway joined our side. He just doesn't understand what we're talking about. And that can be so true of so many normies. They want to believe what we are thinking and feeling. They just haven't quite come to the fact of either admitting it to themselves yet, that a lot of what we say is correct, or admitting that the proof that they're seeing for it is in fact the proof. They're still trying to find those excuses. But we'll wait for you, folks. We're happy to explain. We're not happy to be abused. That's it. And you are welcome to have your own opinion. That's the other great thing about being an Australian. You give everybody a fair go. That's what I march for.
With that comment, though, he finished it off with, go spill your rubbish in America, right? I can't help but wonder, is your head that far into the sand that you don't see that these problems are happening in Australia? That's what I'm confused about. Like, 100% America might be worse off than us further down the road. But Australia has African gang violence going on, Muslim rape gangs going on. Yes, I will do a space after this. I had it scheduled for 8:30, but I might have to do it a little bit later, but that's fine. We'll do it tonight. We have all these problems. It's on X. You'd love it.
Oh, great.
But we have all these problems in Australia. So it's not that we're speaking American junk here, or that we're just following a trend of what's happening in America or Canada or wherever else we look. All these problems are happening worldwide for a reason, because we're all experiencing the exact same problems. Some might say it's done by design, done by a certain group of people. Who knows? But it's, we need to be doing this in Australia.
Yeah.
What's a glowy?
Absolutely. I don't know. I thought you were going to tell me that. You're one of the hip young crowd.
It's a fed.
Fed post.
It's a what?
Here we go. It's a Jesse just told me, he goes, it's a fed, somebody who fed posts.
Oh, right. Okay.
That makes sense now.
See, and here's me thinking it was just a spelling error. But anyway. Sorry, that's probably a bit rude.
Yeah, we know.
How is Jesse, by the way? Good on you, mate. Glad you're standing in the background and on baby duties tonight. So thank you for stepping in on relatively short notice. I'm just having a bit of a go through some of these comments here. Bosie showed his true colours, which is a bit sad. Yes, I would agree. Bowel movements are okay. Well, the movement has had a lot of bowel movements, but we do have to, and that's what it's about. It's about expelling the shit. And sometimes you've got to be able to see the shit before you can expel it. And I've spent a lot of time trying to get to know most people in this who have some form of influence. And I haven't tried to get to know them for any other reason than that I've wanted to try and help. And we find out through various ways and means that help is only required if it's one way, or if it's only going to enable people to beef their own ego up a little bit more. Although ego, while still a problem in the business, everybody's much more aware now of exposing it. And I've got to say, I haven't seen any examples of you exercising your ego in any dramatic fashion. So you should be patted on the back solidly for that too, because it's not easy given the amount of abuse that we all cop, but we also get a lot of applause. We get a lot of pats on the back. And sometimes every pat on the back inflates your head just that little bit further. And I know we've all run into people who've had that experience. I just want to congratulate you on being level-headed about it all. You're doing well.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Carl.
Now, October 19, what do you need in Adelaide? Actually, let's talk. I don't know why Adelaide leapt into my mind, but now that it did, let's just talk about Adelaide for a minute. Now, Adelaide and Melbourne, I think, were probably two of the marches last time round that were, copped flack for not being organised. Melbourne, I think, quite rightly so. Melbourne on the 31st turned into, I don't know what it was, nothing really. Everybody turned up and had nowhere to go. It was a bit weird. So they all splintered off and did their own little thing. Adelaide, on the other hand, did have a level of organisation, but it also had at different times what has been termed a level of help, or a level of disruption, or a level of diversion, or a level of division that was thrown in amongst it all. Now, what's happening this time around? Let's start with Adelaide. Who is organising things? Who has control of what? And can we be definitive? Because I'm hearing different things from different people about who is putting together the march for Australia on the 19th in Adelaide.
Okay, so the March for Australia in Adelaide on the 19th is run by the same person who organised the last one. However, that person's name is Annie Marlowe. Now, you can find her on Facebook and on X. It was not run by Mark Eldridge. He did, however, offer his help and services to Annie to help her out, because hold on. With Adelaide, we did have, the original plan was to have the kid that started the TikTok doing the Adelaide one, but then he stopped replying to me. So I couldn't get in contact with him. So I had to put a call out, and nobody wanted to take it on board. They were saying that it was too hard. They were busy, whatever. So I put the call out, and probably, I think it was 2 weeks before the event, Annie put her hand up and she said, I'll do it. And I went, oh, okay. What experience do you have? Do you have a network of people? And she didn't really have that much of a network of people in the activism scene up there. So
Yep.
unfortunately, when you're new to things, you have a lot of people reach out, some that have ulterior motives. And I was too busy helping the rest of the states. I feel I have a level of guilt because I couldn't help her more in finding out who's who in the zoo. So she had
Yep.
Mark Eldridge reach out to her. I've got a message from him as well because he did initially inquire about running Adelaide, and then he decided that he couldn't be an organiser for Adelaide because he was worried that it would interfere with his political party. And he said, but I'm happy to help if I need to. And I said, okay, great. So not an organiser. He then reached out to Annie, offered his assistance, somehow managed to get his her name taken off the permits because he's got council connections and all of that stuff in Adelaide. Her name was removed from the permit. He took control of speakers. He took control of everything. He was undermining our flyers, saying that we were being racist and that he didn't support them and all of this stuff. And yeah, now he has been removed. He was never part of the MFA approved organisers list, and he's been classed as an agitator and will be asked to be removed on the day if he tries to approach. He caused fights to break out. He was messy. He was unnecessarily messy, and it didn't need to be. And since then as well, he has nonstop told absolute lies. He has been slandering Annie. And like I said, Annie's a bit older of a woman. She doesn't need the drama that he's trying to give her and bring to her. We've had fake phone calls being made to her offering help with PA systems, and it was just to get dates of the next event and locations of the next event. Look, Mark Eldridge has nothing to do with March for Australia, and I'd appreciate he just back off and let us do our thing instead of messing with poor Annie, who's just trying to put on an amazing, safe, good event for people of Adelaide.
All right. I think that's pretty clear. What about in Melbourne this time round?
All right. In Melbourne, so obviously we didn't have a designated organiser at the time, and it went its own way, which was fine. I think it panned out not too bad. But this time around, we've got Matt Trihey from the National Workers Alliance. Awesome man. I've known him for several years now. A lot of people from the Freedom community are familiar with his work and his content, are always posting it. Everyone, knows and loves Matt, except for the lefties, because, yes, Matt does have a history and does have a past. Is he a Nazi? No, he's not. He has nationalist beliefs, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So Matt Trihey will be running Melbourne. You can find his pages on socials under National Workers Alliance. If you'd like to lend a hand, reach out to him. I'm sure he will welcome that. Or if you can't find his pages, message me and I'm happy to put you in contact with him. But yeah, he'll be running Melbourne, and he'll have the help of some of the Melbourne crew that people know and love as well.
All right, excellent. Well, just before I let you go, for folks who are wondering what's different, what's going to be different, why is it so important that people turn up at this event coming up October 19? Why should I bother donating my time that day? Can you give people a reason why they need to be there?
Yeah. All right. So you need to be there because you're proud of Australia and you don't like what's happening. People sit there and say, what changed? Why did you march? What are you trying to aim for? What are your goals? We want conversation going. The fact is, talking about mass immigration, talking about per capita crime stats, all of that stuff, it's been taboo. If you spoke about it, you were racist, you were hateful. We've been having the conversations started in Parliament. People like Malcolm Roberts used the word remigration. I never thought I would see the day that a politician uses the term remigration in Parliament. Like that's mind-blowing to me. And March for Australia has done this. We have made these conversations part of the everyday conversation. And we need to be able to discuss this freely. We need to be able to have these discussions so that we realize we are not happy with how Australia is going, and we can then move forward and make changes. So if you
100%.
love your country, if you are worried about the country that your children are going to grow up in, if you're worried about your safety, if you're worried about being able to find a rental, you need to get to your nearest major city location. There are a few other little rural locations, just like there was last time. And great, go to them. But if you are only an hour or two away from your major city, please try and make it to your major city. And march with people that are like-minded and proud.
Yeah. Now, do you have a particular favourite flag, and do you mind if people bring their particular favourite flag, as long as it is an Australian or at least an Australian-themed flag?
Yeah, look, not a popular opinion, but it is a guideline rule, maybe you might say. Australian flags only. By Australian, I mean our blue ensign, red ensign, or the Eureka Stockade, one that represents Australia. Look, last time I was saying that we were going to ask people to leave with the Aboriginal flag. We ended up letting them stay, okay? However, anybody that looked at photos of the crowd will see that 95 or probably more, 98% of people went along with the recommendation and us asking for Australian-only flags, and it was beautiful to see. I don't care if it's the corporate flag, okay? And most of those people don't either, because they're your average Joe. They don't know about that stuff. And it was beautiful to see. So Australian flags only, please. Like, it makes an impact. It looks like we are walking in unity, which is what we want. We want to unify under the one flag. It's the Aboriginal flag is a race-only flag. It doesn't cater to me. I'm not Aboriginal, I'm not Indigenous, whatever. So it doesn't cater to me. So bring a flag that caters to everyone, and that's what we want.
Well
and
spoken.
No foreign flags at all.
Yep. None at all. I couldn't agree more. All the best with it. If you want to have a catch-up in the week leading up to the event, I would love to have you back on, just in case anything dramatic happens and the mainstream media have made you an actual star this time and are helping you promote the event. But I would urge people to share this far and wide. You'll get a very good understanding of what's coming up, particularly in Sydney, but around Australia. The events are happening on the 19th of October. I have put the list of them up there, and I'll keep promoting them as we move our way closer to the event individually. But you can see last time round, what were the quotes last time round, Bec? Nationally, somewhere between 200 and 350,000 people, I heard.
Yeah, it was a very big range, but each state as well. Like, I think Queensland obviously had the most because they had so many separate little rallies, and Queensland's huge. So like if you're including Cairns and Brisbane and Townsville and all them. But yeah, I think it was somewhere between 200 and 300,000 Australia-wide marched.
Exceptional.
Which
well,
I think is beautiful.
I think that's your young bloke saying, "I'm hungry, Mum. I've had a sleep. It's my turn now." So I'll let you go off and look after him. Thanks for spending some time with us tonight. And anything we can do to help here at the Voice of Freedom, you've got the number. Just reach out, and I'm very happy to help you promote and do what I can for this event. I really am behind it. I can't think of anything more uniting than getting behind Australia and what Australia means. And that doesn't mean that people from other countries can't come here and be Australian. What we're trying to fight against is the fact that our entire Australian demographic is being changed by the foreign corporation masquerading as a government, and that has to stop. So, Bec, thanks very much. I'll let you go.
Awesome. Thanks, Carl.
Cheers, Bec Freedom. And make sure you're out on October the 19th. Be part of it, folks. It's going to be a terribly good event. We'll be able to fight back against the government who brings back people like this, who made their choices. And this is the thing, these days most people are living a life where they believe that making a decision doesn't have consequences. Well, those young ladies found out the consequence pretty hard, and they were banking on the fact that at some point, somewhere down the line, somebody in the Australian government would take pity on them and bring them back here. Well, hasn't that worked out real well? Speaking about things that have worked out really well, hackers have managed to breach MyGov and the Australian Tax Office. That'd be the two offices that have the highest levels of security protection available within the Australian government. The two highest. I don't know. It's a bit weird, don't you think, folks? If your MyGov's been hacked, and I've heard third-party stories of that being the case, in fact, people being advised by Centrelink or MyGov that their MyGov has been hacked, or being advised by Centrelink that their MyGov has been hacked, that monies have been requested and paid, or requested to be paid into either the same account as the owner or a different account. I don't know why they'd want it to be paid into the same account unless they actually had access to that too. But anyway, something to be aware of. The government always saying wonderful things, and how secure it's going to be. How secure would your digital ID be if they can't protect MyGov? Just saying. Now then, more talk about med beds and numbers this time round. The number 28,493. That is the number of med beds that are currently on planet. Where are they? Well, apparently stored in those DUMs or in medical facilities on military bases. Elgin or Eglin base, Air Force Base in America, appears to have quite a number of them. That is because it is the Space Force base. They do a lot of missions. They launch a lot of satellite technology and other things from there. And apparently that is where Space Force soldiers who have been wounded in combat, in space combat, no less, are being worked on by those med beds. The 28,490 of them that might be elsewhere are not yet available to the public, not yet publicly known of, not even really acknowledged, beyond the fact that Donald Trump did put out an AI-generated video about it about a week ago, and then took it down half an hour later. There's been a lot of consternation as to why he would do that, and I got a bit angry about it at the time, because I have a lot of friends, a lot of you, who really do need access to medbed technologies. Some of you need it for life-saving reasons. I can't, and I'm struggling to find a reason that justifies holding back this level of technology now. If it exists, why is it being held back? Would it change things greatly? Well, no, I don't think it would. Okay, the technology available to grow a limb back would probably be pretty earth-shattering and groundbreaking for a month or two. But I'm old enough to remember when Dolly the sheep was cloned. And I'm old enough to remember the huge hue and cry about cloning Dolly the sheep. And if they could clone Dolly the sheep, they could clone anything. I'm old enough to remember the court cases that said, oh, no, we'd never clone humans. We'd never do anything like that. And we believed them. But you didn't hear anything more about cloning then until maybe the last 3 or 4 years, or 5 years. Because they didn't want us, they didn't want cloning to be in our minds at all. They wanted all that put to rest. Just one of the many things the media are responsible for. And there are plenty of them. I've run a bit over time tonight, folks, and I'm sorry. In a daylight savings world, that's probably not terribly pleasurable to those of you that are south of wherever I am. So I'm going to shoot off and let you go and do the things that you like to do on a Wednesday night, and trust that we'll join together tomorrow night for another bit of a chat, where I'm hoping that we will be getting together with Jared from the Page Institute, the Research Institute. We're going to talk about the black money that gets funneled into climate change in this country. Anyway, folks, look out for yourselves on the roads. The dickheads are out there, and for some reason, they seem to be multiplying in number. I'm not saying it has anything to do with the 1,124 odd that are coming in, new Australians coming into the country every day and going straight to your local license registration branch and applying for a triple multi-deck truck license.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's ride!